Live from the House of LeMay Makeup and Dressing Room.
Here comes Amber. Stop what you're doing. Here comes Amber. She's just doing what she can. Here comes Amber. Cue the spotlight. Here comes Amber with 2 drinks in her hand. The matriarch of fashion, secret sewer glasses, you can't look away. Ask her, does she do it? There's really nothing to it. She's got that feminine yay. If you have a party, or if you're feeling naughty, call up the House of LeMay. Here comes your favorite gal. Here comes your queen. Here comes the talk of the town. And we're live tonight. The music starts playing. It's time for cabareting. And we're live tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all cell phones and get ready for your host, Amber LeMay.
Republicans against George Santos? Some Republicans finally found the balls to stand up to this liar. Long Island Republican officials called GOP Representative George Santos a joke, a disgrace, abnormal, and a pathological liar, and said he should immediately resign. Republicans didn't do this for the last joke, disgrace, and pathological liar, and we ended up with an insurrection. It's time for the United States Congress to stand together and force Santos out. Club Q to go on. Matthew Haynes, the co-owner, has said the biggest takeaway that this community has had: the shooter will not win. We all need to follow this example and stand strong in the face of the recent increase in LGBTQ hate crimes. What will you do to help stop this hate? World's slowest checkout line. A Dutch supermarket chain has added a slow checkout lane for people who enjoy chatting while paying for their groceries. This is helping many people with loneliness. This is wonderful. But I suspect one added benefit is that by pulling the chatters out of the other lanes, the regular lanes speed up. This is good news for those of us who would rather spend our time gossiping with friends instead of cashiers. Living in Arkansas sounds like a drag. A bill proposed for the Arkansas State Senate defines drag performances as an adult-oriented business and prohibits such adult-oriented business be located where a minor can view it. Now, if the purpose of this bill is to protect children, how about they Google Arkansas church sex crimes and make churches an adult-oriented business and tax them while you're at it? Are you ready to tax the churches? Oh, hello, and welcome to Amber Live. But first, I want you to like, share, and subscribe. Boop. Thank you. We've got a great show for you tonight, so let's get it started by bringing Russell in. Russell, come on in.
Hey, Amber, how are you?
I'm doing fine. So, good. Russell, we've got some new viewers tonight, so tell them the best way to watch the show.
Well, the best way to watch the show, as always, is to watch on YouTube, and that's because on YouTube, Amber is in full HD, and you can find that at youtube.com/AmberLive. And if you're watching using our website, amberlive.tv, that's the feed right from YouTube, so you're in the right place. But if you go to YouTube, you can also use the chat there to talk to all your friends, to leave us some messages, let us know what you think. And I want to remind everyone about our TikToks and our Instagram and our Facebook pages. You should definitely check all of those out and like, share, and subscribe all of them as well. And if you can't watch Amber, you can always listen to Amber and the Amber Live interviews. I take the interviews from each week and turn them into a podcast, and then you can just listen to them as you drive to work. So there's a lot of great places to see Amber and even more places to listen to Amber. You're going to find her everywhere.
And I am everywhere. Last week, I was a judge for a chili cook-off contest here in Burlington. From the judges, the most creative was number 4. That's When Pigs Fly. And overall, the judges selected Pab's Blue Ribbon, number 6. Thank you all. And then this weekend, I was in Stowe, Vermont for Winter Rendezvous. All those great entertainers that we showed you last week, I got to meet in person this week, and it was such a great time. I want to thank Michael Wilson and the Winter Rendezvous crew for another fabulous, fabulous event.
They always do a great job, so it's pretty amazing that you get to be a part of it.
Oh, it's amazing, that's for sure.
Amazing.
All right, Russell, what else do we have to talk about before we get started?
We have the bustiers, my favorite part. I love our super bustiers and our regular bustiers. And if you'd like to become a bustier and help us out, you can use that Venmo at RJD Pro, or go to amberlive.tv and use your credit card, and any amount is welcome. But if you give $25 or more, I'll send you a sticker with the logo on it. For $100 or more, you get a sticker and a magnet. And for $200 or more, a sticker, a magnet, and a mug with our brand new logo on it. That you can find lots of products in our store now with the brand new logo. So again, use that Venmo at RJD Pro, or go to amberlive.tv and look for the donate button. And it really is helpful. It helps us pay all the bills for the software, for the website, for everything we do to get Amber out there into the world. Because
I love looking at that list, because you look at that list and it's some people we've known for 30, 35 years, and also people who have been guests on the show say, hey, that was fun. I want to give Amber some money. And also people from all over the country are on there. We've got people from California, from Tennessee, from Florida, from New York, from Montana, Ohio, Illinois, New York, all over the country have chipped in to help Amber Live. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And Amber, that means people you don't even know are paying to keep you on the air. That's pretty amazing. But we do need everyone to keep helping us, because the bills keep coming in. So thank you again.
And if everybody watching right now would give $5, wow, that would be
fantastic. Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. If that happened every week, that would be an amazing.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, Russell, let's get into our guest tonight. Tell us what's happening.
We have a great show tonight. Unfortunately, again, it's back on that subject of all the attacks and violence and things that have happened against the LGBTQIA community lately. But so first up, we're going to have Jackie Beat, who you saw some of her interview last week when she was talking about her life and what she was going to be doing at Winter Carnival this week. And Amber also spent some time with her talking about this subject. So we have her responses to that this week. And then we have an incredible interview with California State Senator Scott Wiener, who is a gay Jewish senator in California, and his office has gotten bomb threats. His home has been threatened. He's been threatened. His staff has been threatened. He has a lot to talk about. And then we've got a great update about one of our past guests. And believe it or not, I think our episode with her actually helped contribute to this. So you'll find out all about that when Amber talks about it later.
All right. It is a great show. So let's get started. Okay, we talked about how mores have changed a bit, and we're a little more guarded about what we say. How about the recent attacks on drag and gays and trans performers? Has that affected you in any way?
Yes. I have decided to be even more offensive and more in your face. And I'm one of those people who, listen, this is an art form. There are puppets for adults. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's puppet shows that you wouldn't take a child to. Just because you see Drag Race and you think it's all ages, and there are some unscrupulous promoters out there who will say, oh, this is family friendly and all ages, and then you get there and it's clearly not. So I will say, and I'm not blaming the victim, we need to take responsibility. This is an adult art form. Can a drag queen read a book to a child or a group of children at the library? Of course. Dress appropriately and make it G-rated. So that's usually the case. The problem is the few times it's not, those people will, you know, seize that opportunity and make the most of it. So yeah, like I said, my goal is to be even more offensive and push the envelope and do. It's for my community, and if you are an ally or you're cool or you have gay friends or whatever, you know, everyone's welcome. But I do this for the LGBTQ community, I feel a very strong sisterhood with my trans friends. I'm of that generation, and I mean, you may feel the same way. Most of my trans friends started out as drag performers.
Yes.
And that's how they came to know who they were. And so they're performers, and a lot of them never give up performing. Why should they? Candace Kane, you know, Lena, like just amazing people, Calpurnia Adams. You know, these are trailblazers and groundbreakers. And there's just nothing worse than a 14-year-old cisgender white girl telling you, you know, that you're racist or you're transphobic. It's like, no, honey, this is actually how I show affection. I've been telling a story about Alexis Arquette, you know, a friend of mine who passed away, who was one of my dearest friends. And I will say he, because at that particular moment of the story, that's what they identified as. And in my mind, you know, I'm just telling a story off the cuff and people will go for the jugular. They're just looking for any reason to be offended. But back to your original question, drag has always been here. Drag will always be here. And I have news for you. These people don't even believe what they're saying. It's all classic diversion tactic, like when I put glitter on my face so people don't see that I'm wearing flats. Seriously, they don't even believe it.
Well, what gets me is when they throw out the words as groomers and pedophiles. And we've been very strong on the show and also in our social media of TikTok and Instagram that we're saying, okay, who are the real groomers and pedophiles? It's those people in the church. You know, every drag show, within 10 miles, there's probably 3 churches that have been charged with some sort of sexual offense. If you Google Texas church sex crimes, there's a lot. Google Texas drag queen sex crimes, not so many.
Also, Boy Scouts, coaches. Honey, I got news for you. Real groomers, real pedophiles fly under the radar. They don't put on a bunch of makeup
and say, look at me.
It's so ridiculous. Like they, you know, they do not call attention to themselves. They actually like hook up with, you know, single women who have kids. I mean, it's terrible to even discuss because it's just so dark and so ugly, but
we have to shine light on that because they're shining too much light on us.
Yes, no, I agree, but it's just like, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. And like I said, I really don't even think most of them believe it.
It's something to bitch about.
Listen, there are people in 2023 in America who still think being gay is a choice. To which I always say, well, then why did people choose it hundreds of years ago when it was beyond unacceptable? When you thought you were literally the only person on the planet? Like, where did they even come up with the idea? It wasn't in popular literature. It wasn't in movies, books. It wasn't, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Where did that feeling come from? They didn't just make it up to be fashionable or be weird or annoy people. So if it's a choice, why did they pick it, you know, 500 years ago? Why did they pick it 100 years ago? Why did they pick it back in the 80s when every gay man was in a hospital bed dying of AIDS? You're saying people are still choosing it? Like it's that easy? And
right.
Why would you choose it in a country where they'll throw you off a cliff or off the top of a building? It makes absolutely no sense, but you're dealing with people who make no sense and they're not intelligent. And a lot of the problem is religion. So it really is a matter of intelligence and accepting the biological reality of gay people. Can you imagine the world today if during the entire history of mankind there was not a single gay or lesbian person or abortion? We wouldn't be here right now. We would have imploded as a planet. No joke.
No joke. Thank you so much, Jackie Beat. It was great seeing you, and she really is a terrific, terrific performer. And now, something new from one of our sponsors. It's wintertime, and you know what that means? You need to go on a trip. How about a trip to the Amber Live store? Show off your support for Amber Live with a t-shirt, a mug, a hat, a giant towel, all with our brand new logo on them. While you're visiting, check out the pillows and the candles. Then order your merchandise today at amberlive.tv. I love interviewing politicians, and Scott Wiener was no exception. Let's hear what he had to say. Scott Wiener first served on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors from 2011 to 2016 before being elected to the California State Senate, where he served for the past 6 years. While on the Board of Supervisors, Scott spearheaded action on several topics, such as housing, transportation, the environment, and the impact of the entertainment business on the city's economy. In the Senate, he is chair of the Housing Committee and has also worked on many subjects, such as decriminalizing of psychedelic drugs and HIV and LGBT issues. And his work on the gay stuff is why we invited him to talk today. Just like us here on Amber Live, after the shooting at Club Q in Colorado, Wiener spoke out against the violent rhetoric that fueled the attack. But unlike us, Senator Wiener has received bomb threats at his office and his home. Please welcome Scott Wiener to Amber Live. Come on in, Scott.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for talking about us. So, what prompted the bomb threats?
Well, for the last few years, I've gotten a lot of death threats, mostly related to my work on LGBTQ civil rights, as well as HIV issues, and there are particular bills that I've authored to, for example, decriminalize HIV, to end discrimination against LGBTQ young people on the sex offender registry, and also to make California a state of refuge for trans kids and their families who are being criminalized in states like Texas and so forth. So bills like that have really, they rile up the homophobes and the transphobes. And so for a few years, I've been getting a lot of death threats. And this year, I've now received four bomb threats relating to my home. And it's just, it's a lot, but it's at least it's happening because we're doing good work to protect people.
Now, the current bomb threats, you blame certain people for those specific threats, don't you?
Yeah, so the most recent upsurge was because Marjorie Taylor Greene came after me. She tweeted that I am a quote unquote communist groomer. And then Charlie Kirk, who's one of the sort of really garbage can MAGA people online, accused me of being in favor of quote unquote mutilating children, having to do with gender affirming care for trans kids. And they've also come at me for supporting drag queens. I have a community pumpkin carving every Halloween where we have drag queens who are the judges of the pumpkins. And so we, just all of that, they just, have gone after me a few times. And every time they do that, we get more death threats.
Have you sought any protection?
Well, I don't talk publicly about security that I may or may not have. I've obviously been very mindful of my own personal security as this happens. It goes in waves. And I feel bad for my staff because my staff, they're the ones who, are on the front lines of a lot of this stuff. But we're definitely very mindful of my personal safety.
Now, you live in San Francisco, or you represented the San Francisco area. Yeah. Has the drag scene been affected by any of this there?
We have had in the Bay Area, in the East Bay, there was a drag queen story hour that was disrupted by the Proud Boys. That was a few months ago. In San Francisco, we've not had disruption except for when I did the pumpkin carving with the drag queen judges. There were horrible homophobes there who were somewhat disruptive, but they didn't go after the drag queens. They more went after me. But I know that, I know a lot of drag queens here in San Francisco who are just tremendous community leaders in addition to great entertainers. And I know that they're very concerned, and they are, especially after Club Q. There's been heightened security, and it's inspiring that a lot of these queens are still willing to do their thing and go to work and perform and be leaders in the community, despite all the vile poison that we're seeing. But it's definitely a concern on people's minds.
Now, you're Jewish. Has that brought in an additional bit of harassment for you?
Absolutely. So in the thousands of death threats I've received over the last 2.5 years, it's always a mix of homophobia and anti-Semitism. And when we look historically at some of these moral panics about how, that there are people who are trying to harm children, it's often directed at Jews historically. And now, of course, at LGBTQ people. So I check all the boxes: Jewish, gay man, San Francisco, Democrat, and then on top of it, doing the aggressive policy work that we do.
What can we do to stop it?
Well, I think it's important for people, first of all, to speak up and to be vocal, because I think a lot of times people see the hate and the threats and the intimidation online. And it's understandable that people don't want to get involved. They don't. But I'll tell you, it's great when people are vocal online, pushing back against these people. It's also important for people to hold elected officials accountable when elected officials either play into this vile behavior or don't say anything about it. And it's great. I think it's important for people to be talking to their elected representatives about how important it is to push back against this. We also need to hold social media platforms accountable. They need to not allow this kind of violent rhetoric and intimidation online, and they've all struggled with it. Some have gotten better. Unfortunately, Twitter has gone right back into the gutter under Elon Musk. He's basically encouraged this kind of vicious behavior by unbanning Nazis and white supremacists and people who were removed because of their violent rhetoric. And so there needs to be accountability there. But people need to just it's easy to just try to zone out because it's so painful to watch what's happening in this country, the attacks on democracy, on diversity, et cetera. But we need to never zone out, and we need to be aware of what's happening and be willing to speak out.
Now, here on Amber Live, we've been stressing, as well as in our TikToks and other social media, that while they call us groomers and pedophiles and abusing children, look at the numbers of churches and pastors and youth pastors and church members who are accused every day of what they're accusing us of. I tell you what, do something if you want to. Google Texas church sex crimes and then versus Texas drag queen sex crimes, and look at the description, the discrepancy of that.
Well, this is historically when you want to go after. When society wants to go after a marginalized group, you basically accuse them of harming or putting at risk our children. We've seen it with Jews. We've seen this with LGBTQ people. We've done it with Black people. So many lynchings have to do with, oh my God, they're going after our girls. It's always accusing marginalized groups of being of harming kids, and that will then legitimizes violence against us. And groomer is the new faggot. That's what it is. We need to always call it out for that. But yes, they call us pedophiles and groomers. And you're absolutely right. Not just at churches, in general, when you look at who is committing sex crimes against children, who is molesting children, overwhelmingly, it is straight men who are in the family, right? A stepfather or a father or a brother or a cousin or an uncle. That's the statistics show who's the most likely. It's within the home and it's a straight man, and so there's just no basis to what they're saying, but they say it because they know that it causes people concern. We've always said it about gay men. Now they're saying it about drag queens. They're saying it about trans women, right? All the bathroom bills that trans women are somehow just trying to scam their way into a women's restroom or women's locker room so that they can do violence, which is just, of course, completely false. It's slander, but that's what they say, and it's false.
Can we pass laws? I mean, is that possible?
Well, I mean, I do think we need stronger laws to hold social media platforms accountable for some of the violent rhetoric on these platforms. It's in terms of politics, it's accountability for elected officials that promote this kind of slander, and just making it socially unacceptable for people to say these things.
Out in California, Gavin Newsom is your governor, and he's eyeing for the White House if Joe Biden doesn't run. What's your opinion of Governor Newsom?
Well, the governor has been clear that he says he's not vying for the White House, but we'll see what happens. I think Joe Biden's going to run again, and I think his numbers are getting better, and I think people are being too hard on Joe Biden. He's one of the most progressive presidents in U.S. history, and he's gotten so much done. So I really think this whole campaign to say Joe Biden shouldn't run again, I don't agree with that. If he ends up not running, if he makes that decision, of course, I imagine that Governor Newsom would, consider that. I've known Gavin Newsom for more than 20 years, back to when he was a new member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors around in the late 90s, turn of the century. And I'm a strong supporter of his. He has been just a really strong mayor, a strong governor, very progressive, a staunch ally of the LGBTQ community. And so I consider him a friend, and I support him.
Very good. What are your future political plans?
Well, I love being in the state senate. I feel like we're getting a lot done. I'll be up for re-election in a couple of years, and we'll see what the future holds beyond that. But I just love representing San Francisco and San Mateo County.
Senator Wiener, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you again, Senator Wiener. I hope you're safe out there with all the floods. Hey, Russell, come on in.
Hey, Amber. Wow. I mean, who can believe everything that's been happening to these people? It's nuts.
And that they spend the time to talk to us. I think that is great as well. All right, give us an update of what's more to come.
We have a lot more to come in this show. We have a somewhat different Amber's Crazy in the Attic coming up with our friend Duane Scott Cerny. We've got your Amber update with our guest who had just had an amazing experience after we talked to her. And then, of course, there's Rocco and Boog and Shook still coming.
Next up is our good friend Duane Scott Cerny, who has a different take on what's going on in the news this week.
What's in your attic?
While taking a break from sorting Amber's delicate unbreakables, I was reminded of separating the wheat from the schlap, as in Matt Schlapp, chairman of the American Conservative Union, seen here attempting narrowly focused heterosexuality, is accused of groping a Herschel Walker staffer. Fun word. Call me old-fashioned, but I don't understand groping. Did he ask him to turn his head to the far right and cough up these accusations? Was he checking to see if this guy had a vagina? That can happen in conservative circles. These jerks. I miss the old days when you just said to another guy, whip it out. If the guy got upset, you could always say you were striking up a conversation about your favorite Devo tune. In fact, if you think about it, many famous retro songs are fantastic, deniable pickup lines. Bowie's Let's Dance, in your pants. Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You, naked. And Dolly Parton's classic, Working 5 to 9 inches. Wait, is that right? I don't know.
What's in your attic?
And now for an Amber Live update. Last fall, we interviewed Miss Majesty Divine, a great drag queen from Alabama who was suspended from their daytime job for doing a drag queen story hour at a dog shelter. Yeah, people protested and she got canned, but she's back to work. She appeared on Amber Live, told her story to the world, and then recently was featured in the New York Times. Yes, I think they watch Amber Live too. So we thought it'd be great to re-show that interview with Miss Majesty Divine. Let's welcome Miss Majesty Divine. Hey, Madge, come on in.
Hey, darling, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Madge. So first of all, tell me where you're calling from tonight.
I'm in Madison, Alabama.
Madison, Alabama. All right. You are Miss Majesty Divine in Madison, Alabama. Where did you begin? Where did you grow up?
So I was a military kid. I've lived all over the world. And when my dad retired, I went to school here in Alabama. I went to college. I became a math teacher, and I started teaching in Birmingham, Alabama, about 30 years ago. And about 7 years into my career, somebody said, hey, we need some fundraisers for Pride and for, at that time, an AIDS hospice. Do you want to do drag? I was like, well, not really, but sure, let's go raise some money. And that started 22 some odd years ago. And I just kept doing it because it was a lot of fun. And it gave me a platform. It gave me a reach to what I believe in. So I started doing drag as really for fundraisers, and then I turned it into kind of like a part-time business.
Very good. So what was the brouhaha recently that got you suspended from your daytime job?
So I do Drag Queen Storytime up here, and usually we do it as a fundraiser during the summer for Hard Knocks Rescue and Training. It's the dog rescue I work for. I'm their official drag queen. I raise money for them. So we have story time every other Thursday during the summer. Parents can bring their kids. It's free. They can make a donation if they want to or not. But we have the adoptable dogs there. I read books. I read books centered around dogs and giving dogs a second chance. I read books about inclusion and acceptance. And, you know, the kids have a good time. We color. We sing songs. We read. Reading to kids is a lot of fun. I have a master's in counseling, and I found that books are very healing. So I think reading to kids helps them deal with things that have happened in their lives. So we had a fundraiser that was a nighttime fundraiser. Most of the ones, and real preface this is every single one of my story times was live and on my website until Facebook shut Drag Queen Storytime Facebook down. So all of these were out there live. Everything I've ever done was recorded and live. So we had one that was at night. I didn't have any kids there. So I had a room full of adults, but the people who run the rescue wanted to still go live so we could raise money, because it's another way we raise money is when we're on live. So I read a book called Walter the Farting Dog, and it was about a misunderstood dog that farts a lot, obviously. During the book, I made an offhand comment about something I read.
Okay, what was your comment? What was your comment?
It was Walter found a big juicy bone, and then I said, everybody loves a big bone, to a room full of dogs who, honestly, what dog doesn't like a big bone? But anyway, so this religious faction that protests all my drag queen story times clipped together a video of all my previous story times with the crowds. They took that little one, put it at the end, and said I was making sexual innuendos in front of a room full of children, which is absolute BS. Libs of TikTok got it. They sent it first. They threatened my principal. I'm a school teacher. Obviously, people know that by now. They threatened my principal and my superintendent that if they didn't do something, they were going to release this story. My principal and superintendent said no comment because I hadn't done anything immoral, wrong, or otherwise. Then they released this article. All of a sudden, my school systems, Twitter, all their accounts are being spammed because they keep tagging them. All these hate comments, all of these, Libs of TikTok has 1.5 million followers. So it blew up.
Okay, let go back. Tell me more about Libs of TikTok. What is that?
They're a Twitter page and I had never heard of them. It's apparently one woman, shy.
Karen. I bet you her name's Karen.
Yeah, it's something Rychek, I think. I don't know. I still don't know. I really don't care about them.
Yeah.
But
it sounds like something good. Libs of TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
it does.
It's
but
not.
What they do is, since they got banned from TikTok, they're on Twitter. And what they do is they go around and find clips of teachers. A lot of times it's just teachers teaching empathy in their classroom, but then they take and they edit it and they twist it and they put it out there and they make it look like this dastardly thing, and they get those teachers harassed. So they sent that to my principal on a Tuesday, said, do something and give us a comment or else. They told them go away. Wednesday, they published their article. Fox News picked it up. The Mirror UK picked it up. I am internationally famous now. Do you know that? It hadn't raised my booking fee, but I am famous. A bunch of local places picked it up. The next day, I just kind of came to work. The day after that, I had a doctor's appointment, so I was out for a day. And then that's when it started really blowing up, when Fox News got it. Then I was told that I had to go to speak with the superintendent and the deputy superintendent Friday before work. And that's when I was placed on a leave. The leave was for my protection because they had gotten a ton of threats. The comments under the articles were things like, he needs to be tarred and feathered, and somebody put 22 caliber shells cheaper. One person said, parents of Huntsville, why are you letting this thing live off of life support? Another one said I should be stomped onto the curb. Like the comments got worse and worse and worse. And that led to a 2-week paid leave. I still got paid. I didn't get suspended without pay. While they investigated or whatever, I was never told a whole lot. Those 2 weeks were brutal because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I kept getting on my school email, my Facebook, and everywhere else, tons of just horrid messages. I'm not going to give them credence here, but they called me everything from the worst things you could call somebody to telling me I belonged in prison. So
okay, in effect, you were late. You were suspended with pay for 2 weeks. How did it affect you otherwise? I mean, did you go out in public? Did you?
I did. Another drag queen from Alabama who took down wannabe Governor Roy Moore, or Supreme Court Justice Roy Moore, Ambrosia Starling, called me and told me how to handle it. I did keep going out in public. I didn't cancel anything. I did cancel one private event because of where it was. It was for somebody's birthday, and I didn't want their birthday to be affected by this. So this all happens. Keep getting the comments. People start recognizing me. A lot of people came up and said, that's BS. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Some people wanted to say something, but you could tell they were afraid to, because I'm still a little bit imposing. But it slowly took on a life of its own. Physically for me, my blood pressure has been out of control since this happened.
Oh, I bet.
They've had to double my blood pressure. They still haven't got my blood pressure under control. Because my health is getting worse. January 1, I'm retiring from teaching after 27 years. Because if it happens again, what they used as justification for me being suspended was the internet social media policy. If they blow that up again and that happens again, I'm not saying it would happen, but I can be fired. And I've worked too long to get my retirement. But health-wise, physically-wise, I can't do it.
What was your support from the rest of the community?
From the people I work for, my principal said she stood behind me. The dog rescue stood behind me. A lot of people in my community were behind me, sent me messages saying, keep your head up. People are watching. You keep your head up. This is important. Pretty much everybody had something positive to say. Some organizations did not make official statements, but other people from those organizations came and said, you know, because I started doing family-friendly drag because our community asked me to. Like the parents who have kids wanted queer entertainment for their kids. They didn't want to go to something that was just heteronormative. So that's why I started doing this. All of the parents of my students, a lot of them stood behind me. Former students stood behind me. I got a lot of messages from kids I hadn't seen in 10, 15 years, telling me they support me. So I had a lot of support. I had parents rallied around me. They raised a lot of money for my dog rescue that I'm part of. So there was a lot of good things that came out of this, but at the same time, there have been some, like I had to get a new security system for my house. I have to have cameras in points of entry because they didn't know what could happen, because some of the things people said, like, you don't know if these people are crazy. You don't know if they're real. You don't know if they're just going to stay behind their keyboard. And that's not something I have a family. I have to take care of them. So,
okay. You retire January 1st. What's next?
So I'm working, when I saw how you do this, I am working on a studio to do drag queen story time on a more regular basis, complete with puppets and music, and friends have volunteered to do stuff. But I'm also going to work on my drag because, like, I'm 52. I love performing. I am just in a point where I am booked regularly and blessed to be where I am. So I'm not going to stop. But I also have some side businesses that I'm working on, and I'm still going to tutor math, and I have a master's in counseling. I'm going to be counseling part-time too. So,
well, good for you, Majesty Divine. We're going to stop this interview right now, but we're going to have you back to talk to the other girls about what's going on. Cool. So thank you so much for your story. You've inspired many, many people. Wow. That story gets me every time. You know what else gets me every time? Rocco Zamboni. Come on in, Rocco.
Hey, it's me, Rocco. You know, I just wanted to take a minute here because I was thinking, you know, without the drinking part, but still, I'm thinking, and you know how much I love sandwiches. I would do anything for a sandwich. And I'm eating a sandwich as I drive right now. What is it, ham? Bologna? Good stuff. And I'm thinking, who created the sandwich? It was that guy, the Duke of Sandwich or the Earl of Sandwich. What the hell kind of name is that? Was he named after a sandwich? Or was the sandwich named after him? Either way, I gotta thank this guy. I got no voice still. I sound like your old aunt who smoked 2 packs a day for 90 years. And it's just like, go get me my shawl. I'm gonna drop dead, you bitches. But anyway, yeah, you can see I got a lot on my mind today. So I'm talking about sandwiches. I just want to raise my sandwich. It fell on the floor. To the Earl of Sandwich and say, thank you, dude, for taking 2 greasy slabs of meat and slamming them between 2 pieces of bread so you could hold it. Seems simple enough. Culinary brilliance. All right, that's it. Talk to you later, if I can. Bye.
I never know what to expect with Rocco, nor do I know what to expect with Boog and Shug. So let's see what they're doing. Bye-bye. See you next week.
Amber's really starting to grow on me. They make creams for that. Oh, thank goodness. I'm so itchy.